Hi, I'm Rina, and welcome to the Lessons from Post-Exit Entrepreneurs. After selling my brand communications agency, I started getting questions from people about the process of selling the company. Fellow entrepreneurs who exited their businesses also shared about their post-exit experiences. I thought about how great it would be if these conversations with such valuable insights could be shared with others too. Therefore, I launched this podcast where you will get the lowdown from entrepreneurs' collective insights in exiting their businesses, learn from their post-exit challenges, be inspired by their journeys, and their rediscovery in the pursuit of a purposeful life. Hi! Welcome to part 2 of the episode with my guest, George Gunn. On this episode, he shares with us the process of discovering your own identity and the differences between work-life balance and work-life integration. If you haven't checked out part 1 yet, I would recommend you do so, where he shares with us his entrepreneurship journey since the 1980s and the multiple businesses that he has built and sold. Meanwhile, you will notice a change of background setting in the interview midway through this episode. This is because after the first interview was completed, I regretted not asking George a burning question I had, because I wasn't sure if it was going to trigger bad memories. I plucked up the courage to ask if he's willing to do a short follow-up interview, and he graciously complied. What I didn't know was what I was about to uncover, and how I thought this was going to be the first interview that I almost teared as a host. I was so touched and humbled by his vulnerability. I sincerely hope you will learn something from his experience too, as he shares openly with us. Let's continue with the episode.
With regards to your durian orchard, right? So you've got, the best durians in the world, and I've said that I would love to visit it one day. And you have a wonderful dream about making this durian orchard into also a retreat, some sort of corporate retreat, right? So apart from producing the best durians, and can I say it's kind of like part of your retirement plan, some sort, maybe on this stage of your life? And
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think in recent years I saw that there was a massive storm that happened, unfortunately, and I saw the photos online, and the devastation from the flood swept away the trees and removed everything in sight, right? And the photos were just heartbreaking, and there was a photo of you looking crestfallen, surveying the grounds. And I can't help but feel like it's almost a parallel to your first business, where everything you built was swept away in one night, and it was not within your hands. Yeah. So I was wondering, how did you feel when it happened? And what did that experience teach you?
Okay. Very good, Rina. Thank you for asking that. Well, I bought my orchard in 1995. So
quite long ago,
I had my
actually.
orchard now for 29 years. And even my usage of the orchard or using the orchard, the purpose changes over time, over 3 decades. Today, the intent is to make it into a destination where people and communities would gather someday for learning and growing, in different forms, so that we can have a broad spectrum of visitors, whether they are entrepreneurs who are very successful to community leaders serving, different groups, to aspiring entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. So the vision is to bring all these different people together and have different facilities on the property for them to use for their meetings, for their workshop, for their own retreats. But the most powerful thing is that the idea is that when you can have different communities in a single destination, you create what we would term as chance collision. Which means
chance encounters.
That's right. That you don't necessarily planned for it. But the person that is coming for the corporate retreat, a very successful entrepreneur, while walking around the property may bump into a young social entrepreneur that is very passionate about saving the world through sustainability and environment. And it may trigger a thought in the mind of a typical hardcore entrepreneur whereby, like you said earlier, it's all about economical successes and financial successes. And on the other hand, the social entrepreneur may be touched by the vision of a seasoned entrepreneur, and that would potentially allow him to think beyond just doing something to make a better world, but to do something in a more entrepreneurial way, in a more economically successful way. The notion being that if you are broken yourself, you cannot save the world. You have to build something relevant and successful yourself. So that is a kind of core theme of it. And as I was just embarking on it, because, the earlier part of my life, like many EO members, many entrepreneurs, my priorities are different.
Yeah.
My priorities would be to build the business, to build the family, and then obviously the children came along, and they are their priority. So it's only in recent years, in the last 7-8 years, that I have opportunity to go on to the next stage, and I started to build more and more of that. The storm that you talked about was on the 19th December 2021.
Wow.
And we had a very, very nasty storm. And they term it as the 100-year storm, that will happen only once every 100 years.
Very rare big storms. Okay.
So my property was flooded because we have a river that surrounds our property. So the water must have rose 15 feet into the property and wash away a lot of things. And if all my chicken were washed away, I have like 250 chickens.
Oh no!
They are not just regular chickens. I have a lot of
the kampung chickens, is it? Silky chicken.
Kampung and silky chicken and show chicken,
Oh wow!
Chickens that you wear for just for aesthetic. Then I have a lot of ducks that wash away. My dogs got washed away. My cats, and I have 40 plus peacocks. And my peacocks are not just regular blue Indian peacocks. I have pied peacocks. I have white peacocks, and I have green emerald peacocks. So all of them drowned because the whole aviary collapsed, and then they were stuck in the net.
And they were caged up, right? So they can't run away.
But we have a large walk-in aviary, quite big. So they roam freely in the aviary, which is netted. So when the flood came and the aviary collapsed, the net just sort of fall on them and drown them. So what, to your question about how I felt, I think for a moment I was stunned. I didn't expect the gravity of their destruction, So when I got the call that there was flood the night before, late at night when it started to flood, you just assume that it's a flood.
One of those,
So by early hours, by 1 a.m., when my worker told me that it's really bad, so I just asked them to abandon the place and go to high grounds. So first thing at 7 a.m. when I walked there on the 19th, I was shocked because it wasn't a flood, it was a disaster. My bridge was washed away. My bridge is a very heavy-duty steel bridge that crossed into my orchard. That was the first thing I saw when I arrived, that this bridge that I built, many years ago that's supposed to last a lifetime. The steel beams were 4 feet, just over 4 feet long. So they're very big beams. And so bridge was collapsed. So we couldn't get into the property. So finally, I found access to it. And when I went in there, I was met with nothing. The whole place was flattened. It was about 2-3 feet of mud. animals were all gone. All my other chicken coops, the dog kennels, everything was washed away. What was heartbreaking was that I had 3 small storerooms in the orchard where one of them I store my own personal effects. So furnitures that my parents had in my hometown in Taiping, furnitures that I collected, were all kept there. They were all, the flood just broke it and washed away most of the furnitures, maybe 80%. I can see my refrigerator in the middle of the river bank. Then there's another store that I keep my personal effects, which include a lot of my children's personal things, my children's books, all their project in school. I'm a romantic guy, so I kept all their school projects. I never threw away, hoping that they'll see it one day. My daughter toy when she was very young. I bought her all the big, massive toys that I kept in the store. All those were washed away. My son's drum sets, so I have just a few drums left that I found, by the river. So most of the things that I've collected in the last 15, 20 years got washed away. And especially my parents' furniture from Taiping, their wardrobe, their dressing table, their wooden rattan set that I kept. All of those I hope to use it in the orchard someday, but they were all washed away. So I think it took me about 3 or 4 days. Initially, the reaction was devastation, but I didn't wanted to react the normal way because, in my training, we have to be strong. In my training, we are able to psycho ourselves that no life was lost. Other people have it worse. I'm very grateful for that none of my workers were hurt. You try to brainwash yourself that it's okay. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. I think I was not living in reality, and I didn't allow my emotions. I didn't allow acceptance. And when you don't allow acceptance, you are denying the truth of the situation, which was, I think, what I did. But after about 3 or 4 days, one day I was just sitting there. That's where I got very emotional because I saw I found one of my mom's rattan chair. That must be what, my mom died at the age of 92, and she must have bought it when she was, when she got married. So it must be at least, 70, 80 years old chair. That's when I broke down and allowed myself to grieve, to allow myself to feel sad. There's nothing wrong. Don't have to be so strong. Don't have to deny myself the opportunity to grieve.
Yeah.
I think by grieving, it healed a bit. And when I walk around the orchard, some of the trees that I planted were damaged. Some were destroyed. Some were uprooted. And I don't mean just normal trees. As you know, one of the little funny thing that I do is that I collect seeds and plants from around the world in my orchard. So I grow them. And to grow a botanical garden like this take a long time. Trees take 100 years to grow. So most of the plants were, were growing quite well. So a big portion of that was also destroyed together with a tropical garden that I built, which I enjoy gardening, my wife and I. So when I allowed myself to sort of stop and allowed myself to express my own sadness and emotion and cry, I find that to be healing, so that I'm no longer in a state of denial. I'm no longer just pretending that it's okay, that I want to be so strong. So I find that that helps me to just be totally vulnerable to the damage that was inflicted on my property and to me and the losses that I have done. So for a few days, I allowed myself to grieve. But once you allow yourself to grieve, the healing can happen. In my case, I find that once that is over, I start to look at the property and start to think about opportunities. Because after the flood, a lot of bushes, and my orchard is very large. And when things were clear up, I started to see different part of my orchard that I haven't seen for many years because of all the undergrowth and the plants, because I keep everything very natural. And so the orchard, in a way, have done some spring cleaning for me. Maybe some of the things that I collected was just not necessary. It's just being romantic about it. So it cleaned away some certain things. It cleared part of the property so that I have new views about angles and corners that allowed me to have new ideas where I want to put new buildings. So after that, the upward swing was there. I started to be excited again about how I can rebuild, but it was just so much work. Then the second miracle happened. EO came together to support me.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, as part of the grief, I posted it. My Facebook is only for friends, but EO Malaysia every weekend have people coming around with their family to clean. So they bring their chanko, they bring their shower, and so for months and months and months, I had every weekend people coming because they can't access the orchard. To come to my orchard is a challenge itself.
Because the bridge is gone, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So they have to wade through the river, or they have to go through the
man.
neighbor's land and then walk quite a long distance to get to the orchard.
It's a hike just to get to the orchard.
That's right. So that was very fulfilling. That was a unplanned joy of seeing a community coming together. Then somebody in EO Hawaii that I met, a guy called Alex, started a GoFundMe, which, I didn't think much of it, but they collected, enough money to rebuild my bridge. So they collected almost a big substantial amount of money. And EO members from around the world contributed, some $10 up to substantial amount that I was embarrassed to get that kind of donation and contribution. People that I've met in the past that even though we never kept in touch, came together for the call, for that effort. So my bridge is now rebuilt. I've started replanting. I've changed the concept a little bit from just about a destination for learning and growing. I have a portion called second chances. Just as the orchard was given a second chance, I'm now working around the theme of second chance. So that is something that I'm working on, and it includes installing one or two very, very ancient houses. Some of the oldest wooden houses in Malaysia. So this morning when I was busy, I just dismantled a wooden house last week when I was in Japan, and this morning we started to. They sent it to my orchard yesterday, and this morning I reassemble it. I'll start to reassemble it. So it'll be very beautiful. So that's what I've been doing.
Oh wow! I have no idea by asking this question what I would uncover. And as you were sharing, I didn't realize how much worse it was from what I saw. And I really, I was grieving with you as you were recollecting this memory, and I wanted to cry when you were sharing this. Yeah.
Well, it was difficult for a few days, but I think I passed that, and now I'm very, very optimistic to try to do something. It doesn't have to be, like you said earlier, commercial, but it's nice. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful ending too, right? Like the way you said it, you have now looked at the whole orchard with fresh eyes, and your idea of actually the retreat to be also like a community where, you could get chance encounters and you can have different people from different walks of life come together. And because of this devastation, you've got people, from around EU, Malaysia, or actually, in fact, around the world coming together to, help to rebuild this. It is
Yeah.
almost, it's reminiscent of the dream and the goal you have for this retreat, this orchard.
Yeah.
It's this is what the flood has actually brought on. Yeah. How a new life would come about, and how the power of community and the love and support from everyone could bring. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so beautiful.
not at
I
all.
love it. Yeah.
You talked about how some of the business, I guess, setbacks allowed you to spend a lot more time with your family and grow closer to them, right? And so many years have passed since all this happened, and your life has changed so much. If you could change history, right, and let's say things turned out differently, the business after the management buyout went well, you were immensely successful, right? How do you think your life would be different if you had then focused on that business? Maybe for that few years you need to build it up, and then you refocus the energy back to your family again.
Yeah.
How do you think it would have been different?
Well, I'm only speculating because
It didn't happen. Yeah.
But what I feel is that we have the ability to navigate and to drive certain things in the way that as it happened, we make the best use of it. What I meant is that maybe it's just a way that we influence ourselves to say that, hey, this is for the better, right? So if today I had not exited the business and it become even many, many times bigger, I might be sitting here saying that would have been a better solution, because we had the way of convincing ourselves that whatever happened is the best, right? And I think that's kind of mindset is important. Because, if not, you always have regrets, you're always unsure, I think the mindset that I had at that time was that when we make a decision to move in certain direction, we make the best use of that opportunity and we amplify it.
Yeah.
So looking back, of course, there are some moments of decision, and I make the choice of moving from a life that is based on economics to a satisfactory life. Satisfaction life meaning that you balance or you integrate family with business, and that was very important. So there was a period whereby that satisfaction, that balancing part was my definition of success. Today it may change a bit. Today, at this stage of life, maybe giving back, being able to contribute, being able to serve a bigger purpose in the world may become a far higher priority than when I was in my 30s. When in my 30s, I was fanatical about growing businesses. I was fanatical about building the economic success, the financial success that I don't have. So if I had at that time tried to be living a balanced life, I might have failed. So the first stage was about building that financial success. Sure, I lost a bit of other areas, but if you don't focus and you're not fanatical, you're not obsessed, you cannot be successful.
Yeah.
And just as I moved to a more balanced life, that obsession about balancing the family and spending real quality time with the children, that make me very successful as a father, right?
Yeah.
I was able to do one-on-one holiday with each of my sons, with my daughter, and those memories, those moments are defining and formational for both of my children and myself, right? Now that they are all grown up as young adults, each time we talk, we have those fond memories, Those fond memories, those conversations are very important. So I'm very, very satisfied with that. So today, as we sit here, I'm in Singapore working with a group of young entrepreneurs. The satisfaction I get is very different. if in the room of 30, if one person hears something that I say and change or transform or pivoted because he or she got clarity or inspired, then my job is done.
Yeah.
Then my job is done.
Yeah, I love that. So on that note, it sounded like you first focused on your business, and at I guess the time was right when you actually put your focus on your family.
Yeah.
And so I have a question about, do you think it's possible to have actually both aspects of your life be successful, both business and family, right? So some people may say something's got to give. Like you say, you need that focus and that entire energy spent on something. And we all just have 24 hours. Yeah. Is it possible to really have both equally successful, or really something's got to give and you kind of need to focus on one first and then the other?
That's a good point, and I think you can have the cake and eat it. It's okay. I think it's not just work or family. I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Now, if you try to balance it, the word balance gives the notion that it's equally given time. Therefore, it's difficult to balance. But if you choose a different word, you choose the word integration.
Yeah.
Meaning that myself is integrated into my business, integrated into my family, integrated to my community that I serve, to myself. Then living an integrated life is very possible. Meaning that I am very aware and conscious about work. I'm very aware and conscious about the business. I'm also very aware and conscious about my children and my family and my wife. And I'm also very aware and conscious about giving back to community, to a community that I serve. I work with the Lasalian group. We build learning centers called DESP, Direct Education Services to the Poor. And that's the community that I serve. And then personally, I have my dreams, I have my hope. I want to travel and engage leading entrepreneurs. I love nature. So if I put everything together, it seems a lot. But living an integrated life allowed me to move from the business to the family, to the community, to my own passion comfortably. So I become very aware that these are the various dimensions of life, that success in one dimension and failure in others is not successful. That we need to live a successful life, a life by design, meaning that at different time, maybe we give more time and energy to one of them, but it's not at the expense of anyone. It's about giving focus and priorities. So living an integrated life allows you to do that. There are moments my business needs me more, so I spend more time in the business. There are certain moments that my children needs me more, my family needs me more, I spend more time there. And there's moments that I need to have self-love and self-care, so I spend more time for myself. And sometimes the community needs me and I spend more time there. So the privilege of being an entrepreneur, the privilege of having exited a business and have some resources, allow us to have that flexibility and live that life by design and by choices. And to me, that is probably one of the biggest reasons why I became an entrepreneur, to have that choice, to be independent, to be able to live the life that I choose to live because of the clarity of my own identity. And I feel that that is something that many entrepreneurs enjoy. And that is something that I love.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, so and I guess the other question I also have is, through these trials and tribulations, you have shared that it allowed you to find out who you are and what you want to be. And I think these questions seems very basic, but they are actually questions, fundamental questions that baffle many people, and not just young people. We're talking about people who may already be in their 30s, 40s, or even more, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how if it's possible to somehow articulate, that process of who you are
Yeah.
Yeah. What you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. You are talking about a very, very important topic about identity.
Yes. Yeah,
That,
exactly.
that you need to be clear about who you are.
Mm.
And being clear about who you are allow you to be clear about your purpose.
Yes.
You cannot be clear about your purpose and your why if you do not know who you are and
Yeah.
your own identity.
Yeah.
And you soon realize that a big part of your identity is actually not you. The values you have are given to you by your parents. They are inherited values. They are imitated values. You just copy your parents. But at a certain point, when you do a self-evaluation, self-assessment, and as you go through more and more experiences in life, you start to spend time and say, is that what I am? So that's the reason why many people, halfway through their life, make very dramatic transformational changes. They just discover their own calling and their own identity. And to get that identity require self-awareness. And self-awareness require you to have a lot of moments in reflection, in thinking, is that you spend a lot of time thinking about it so that you're not always so busy that you're just doing.
In the rat race of life and not
Rat race
slowing
of
down.
life and doing things that the society expect you to do, right? So it's such a beautiful thing that once you discover your own identity about who you are and who you want to be, then society no longer defines you.
Yeah.
And you don't need external affirmation.
Yeah.
Many of us, when we are insecure and we are not sure who we are, then everything that we do depends on what people think about us.
Yeah.
So we are living a life based on the external.
Yeah.
But to be able to live a life based on the internal is very powerful. It's very beautiful. That you are confident. You don't need anybody to say, hey, you're doing well. You just know that you're doing well.
Yeah.
So the first part is about that clarity of identity that then define your purpose. And after that, the tough part is to have the courage. The courage to act on it. Because the moment you act on your purpose and your identity, sometimes it requires changes.
Yeah.
And with every change, there's a lot of disruption, uncertainty, fear. And many people do not make those change because of that fear, to transform, to change. And so they're stuck. And they're stuck for a long time to a point whereby they just give up their dreams and who they are, right? So having that identity is important. Once you have the identity, then you look for the tools, you look for the best practices out there to live up that identity and make those choices. And then lastly, you must have the discipline, the rhythm. It's all about building habits. You know. So I've been very lucky. I have many great people that I learned from. They came into my lives, and I was able to learn from them, to observe them, and in the process be able to reevaluate and define myself. And today I feel very comfortable. I'm very clear about what I do, why I do it. I choose to be in Singapore today, and I choose to be back in KL tomorrow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that kind of
and he woke up at
choices
4 a.m. this morning.
So that gave me a lot of strength, a lot of motivation, and I'm very comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. I so resonate with what you said. Yeah, the need to know who you are, that identity. Yeah. So my final question for you, what to you would be living a life that's meaningful and fulfilling look like?
A meaningful and fulfilling life. This is, I'm sure there are many other definitions, but to me, starts with that clarity of who you are, the identity, and then recognize what is that purpose that you want.
Yeah.
And with that, then you are clear about where you're going.
Yeah.
So knowing where you're going and who is going with you and what are your options allow you to start on that journey.
Yeah.
And that journey itself recognize and I recognize that there are certain things that are under my control. So I make those choices. And there are certain things that's outside my control that will happen, and I just accept it as fate so that it doesn't pull me down, it doesn't weigh me down. So having that mindset, that state of the mind to allow me to move forward is very, very fulfilling. And again, as I said earlier on, with that clarity, I'm no longer comparing myself to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just comparing myself to my best potential. And it's a good life, you know. It's a good life doing what you enjoy doing. It's not perfect. I have my issues, I have my problems,
Of course. Yeah.
but you just deal with it.
Yeah. So is there any way our listeners could connect with you if they want to do so? Or social media?
I'm not so heavy on those. I'm with EO.
Yeah.
You know, I'm with the entrepreneur organization, so they can find me in EO. I have a very, very good relationship with all the EO chapters in Asia. I spend a lot of time, like tomorrow I'm back to EO Malaysia, on Sunday I'm with EO Beijing. You know,
What a life.
and following week will be in EO Taiwan.
Wow.
And then from Taiwan I'll go to the Philippines, you know, and then before that to Japan as well. So it's very joyful for me to keep on meeting amazing people in EO, people that I can relate to, that they feel that my sharing is meaningful for them, and we learn and grow together.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rina.
I'm so inspired by your sharing and
Thank
your
you.
time with us. Thanks
Thank you.
once again.
I appreciate your time as well, and thank you for
My pleasure.
allowing me to share some thoughts on your
Yeah.
broadcast.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
You're doing
Thank
a
you.
great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, means so much for you to say that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode. If you have, please consider hitting subscribe, like and comment on whichever platform you are listening from. Do also share with anyone whom you think will find this useful. I would also love to hear from you. Do let me know what are some of your key takeaways from this episode and any feedback or suggestions you may have. Do follow us on Instagram at Post-Exit Entrepreneurs for latest updates. I look forward to learning and growing with you through this podcast. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye!